principle of being a bohemian in business is to cultivate relationships, to get personal. There are definitions of success out there for business or whatever, success in your life. My definition of success is you're doing what you love to do, you're doing it with people you love. That is success, and that's why you don't need to wait for success. If right now, this moment, you are doing what you love with people you love or people you appreciate and you enjoy working with, you are a success. Right now, this moment. People are not the means to your success. People are the destination. Now, when I had been in business for about 13 years, not even that, I think it was maybe about 8 years, and I started to realize that all my clients had become friends. And I don't mean just people who would come over to my place for a barbecue and I invited them. I mean true friends, people who would sacrifice themselves for me and go out on a limb on my behalf. True friends. Now, how did that happen? I've got some ideas on how that happened. Now, the way that I have come up with these ideas on how to cultivate relationships is simply by observing how I've done it over the years. And you can benefit from my experience. So I would say there's about 9 different ways to cultivate relationships. There's probably about 25. Other videos in this series will show you other ways that you can interact with people. But let's start with 5 basic ways to cultivate relationships. Number 1, be the client that you want to get. Now what this means is you need to treat your suppliers like royalty. Treat them with an attitude of gratitude. Pay people what they are worth. Do not nickel and dime people. Recognize their value, show your appreciation, say thank you. Whether it's the cable guy, the person who provides you with your groceries, or the cashier. Whoever is your supplier, whoever you trade your cash for goods, show them you appreciate them. Number 2, how to cultivate your relationships. Forget about being interesting. Forget about trying to impress people. Instead, focus on the other person. Listen to what they have to say and ask questions. This is especially important when you are going for first interviews with potential new employers or new clients. Forget about trying to impress them. Instead, you need to show how interested you are in them, in their company, in their way of doing business, in a picture that they've got on their wall, or something that they're wearing. Forget about yourself, focus on them. The number 3 way to cultivate relationships is to engage in conversation. A couple of years ago, actually a few years ago, a coffee shop opened in downtown in the city where I live. And I went there frequently because it was a fantastic space. I could write my book. I had business meetings there. It was a great place to meet with people. But I predicted that these people would go out of business before too long. And here's why. It was competing with all kinds of coffee shops in the area. All of those coffee shops, I noticed, tended to have conversations with their customers. They were approachable, they were accessible, they talked to you. The people in this coffee shop never talked to me. It's like they did not want even to say hello. It didn't matter how good their coffee was, how great their space was, how good their prices were, how good their food was. They did not talk to me. Sure enough, They went out of business. And all those other coffee shops that had been around before them and after them, they all stayed in business. In fact, what I watched is the classic contrast between what happened to that coffee shop and what happened to another coffee shop down the street, where they were constantly engaging with their customers. This one just boomed, constantly boomed, packed. You can't even get there in there now on Saturdays because it's so packed. Engage in conversation with your customers. Number 4 way to cultivate relationships: focus on people who love and respect you. Focus, we talked about this in the last video. Focus on people who appreciate you for what you do, how you do it, and who you are. And about those other people who do not love and respect you, ditch them. Ditch them and don't waste any time on them. Don't try to impress them. Don't try to make them love you. Don't try to make them respect you. Don't plead. Don't try to change them. Ditch them. Just get rid of them. In another video, I will go into more detail about how to fire your customers. That's a very important point. You know, speaking of people who love and respect you, you could say I was an example of somebody who did this to the extreme, sticking with people who really loved me. You know, for a couple of years in my business, I would actually know when a client was going to call me, because the night before, I would have a dream that we were making out. Not a word of a lie. Now, this didn't happen for long. Maybe it happened for about a couple of years. And this wasn't just with 1 or 2 people. This was with 5 or 6. Some men, some women. Made out with all of them. And one case was really quite something, because I woke up at about 7:30 or so, which is early for me. And I thought, oh wow, oh my gosh, I've been dreaming I was making out with Wendell? You've got to be kidding me. Bring! The phone rang. Boom, just like that. And it was Wendell. Yep, I was psychic. You might find that similar things happen like that with you when you're developing relationships with your customers. That they will get involved in your dreams in funny ways. Funny ways, yeah. If you have some funny stories about that, let me know in the comments. Number 5, ways to cultivate relationships. Respond with zest and excitement when they call you. I remember an example of how not to do this. I was, when I really needed somebody to work with me, there was a woman that I would call on from time to time, and I would give her graphic design projects. And here's the way that she would answer me when I said, hey, let's call her Susan, and that's not her name. Hey Susan, guess what? I've got a potential big project for you, and it's designing forms. And here's how she would respond. Ooh, yeah, well, not sure. I'm kind of, well, what's it about? How much are they paying? Who is it? When's it due? What? Do you not want this? Turns out she did want it, and she did a great job. Fantastic job. And I realized after calling her several times with several different projects, this is the way that she responded. And I thought, gosh, she's probably responding that way to her other customers too. Like, oh, not more money. You're not going to give me more money, really, are you? Don't be like Susan. When somebody calls you and offers you a position, a gig, anything, respond with zest. Hey, how's it going? Absolutely. When do you want to meet? Don't mince words. Respond with zest. Number 6, big one. Here's a big important piece of advice for cultivating relationships. And this is especially important for you women. Accept compliments. This is one of the most difficult challenges that my female clients have. They do not know how to accept compliments. I'm going to give you a story about a gig that I had. It was for Sun Microsystems, and the first meeting that I had with them, it was for a project that was completely beyond my comprehension. Couldn't understand what they were selling. It was an invisible product. Excuse me. We sat in that meeting for about an hour, and I was trying to figure out what they were trying to sell, trying to figure out what their client wanted to buy. I couldn't understand a word. I thought, oh gosh, why am I here? What am I going to do? I have no idea what I'm going to do. So from time to time I asked questions, and I'm sure these questions sounded pretty stupid to everybody else in the room, but I was not a tech, and this was all high-tech stuff. After the meeting, we get on the elevator, and the head sales rep, who's the one she's the kingpin, she's looking after this whole thing, the queen pin. She gets in the elevator, she looks straight at me, and she says, "Wow, you're good." What? I felt like saying to her, who? Me? You must be kidding. But I didn't say that. No. Are you serious? I didn't understand a thing that just went on in that meeting. No, I didn't say that either. Thanks, but I really don't think I'm that good. I didn't say that either. Nope, nope, nope. Here's what I said when she said, "Wow, you're good." I said, "Thank you." I had no idea what she meant. I did not know what she saw. I saw myself as being an idiot in that meeting. She saw me somehow. She figured out there was something that I was going to contribute. And that was a big step for me, because what this woman was tuning into was a genius that I had that I was not yet fully aware that I had. And I was about to really find out, because that turned out to be an absolute turning point in my career. The important thing when somebody gives you a compliment is it is a huge learning experience for you. You need to accept it, because number one, it validates what they see in you, and number two, it shows you there's something that I'm not aware of here that you can learn about yourself. Number 7 on how to cultivate relationships. Fix mistakes. Now, sometimes business can go wrong, and you can make boo-boos, either with your product or your service, or just the interaction that you have with people. And this has happened to me a few times in my career. And I remember when I was younger, when I had just started off on my own, and I was working for the bank, and I was doing a big project for the bank, their credit card division. And I had made a comment that was very offensive, and this VP had come to me afterwards and said, I felt really offended by that, and I don't think that was appropriate. Well, in my younger days, I defended myself, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But that's not the way to fix mistakes. Here's the way to fix mistakes. It's really about repairing relationships. So whatever happened that was wrong, you might not know exactly what happened. You ask them. You listen to what they have to tell you. You reflect back to them and you say, "Am I understanding you correctly?" And you share exactly how you understand it. You take ownership for what you did. Yes, you are correct, Betty. I did that. And I need to fix that. What can I do to repair it? Never say you're sorry. Do not say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." That is something you never say in business. I've said it a few times too many. Sorry means absolutely nothing to me. If you make a mistake and it's at my expense, don't tell me you're sorry. Fix it. Number 8 on how to cultivate relationships, get personal. Share yourself and open up. Now, sometimes This means opening up to things that are pretty close to home. And I've done this a few times, and it has come back to me in spades, because when you open up to your clients, they will open up to you, and it develops trust, mutual trust. And I remember when I was going on vacation one year, and we didn't have a credit card, and we needed a van for my partner and our kids, and the rental car company would not accept cash, so I went to my colleague, Alice. And I had gone to other people to ask if I could use their credit card, and they said no. She said, "Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem." Sign of a true friend. She was a colleague. Another client, I had done several projects for her, and I hadn't opened up to her very much. But when I was in one of my darkest hours of need, when I was in serious danger, I called her up out of the blue. And I said, "Catherine, I need a place to stay, and I need it very soon." And she said, "No problem." She set up a room in her house for me, and that became my safe place for a month. And I don't know what I would have done without her. She was a client. In another situation, I was in the hospital because I had been assaulted, almost murdered. And my friend, client, Jane, was in the middle of a project that I was supposed to be doing for her. She had already paid me for it. She ended up doing the project on my behalf while I was in the hospital. And speaking of the hospital, another client of mine, I told him, I'm not ready. I'm in the trauma ward. I don't look good. He came anyway, bearing an African violet and all smiles. And all my clients were very supportive of me through some of the most challenging times of my life. So when you share yourself, when you open up, it does build trust. Do it with people that you trust, people you care about. Don't divulge yourself to people you don't care about. Do it with people, and you're not exposing yourself in any dangerous way when you do this. So don't be afraid to share yourself with your customers. Get personal. Number 9, this is the final way to cultivate relationships, and it could be the most important one. Get to know yourself. Develop a relationship with you. And this could be also the most challenging of all of these 9 methods of cultivating relationships with other people. Cultivating relationships with yourself takes work, takes time, takes commitment. And we'll talk about that in more detail. We'll talk about a lot of these factors in more detail in future videos.